That's what I think.
Okay. Interesting.
What do you think?
No, it's very interesting. The United States was an amalgamation of a bunch of great civilizations that the founding fathers researched.
Yeah,
They said, okay, what's the best aspects of these civilizations? We're going to make a new one.
totally.
There you go. So just like you were talking about the, we'll say the evolution of God throughout the ages of humanity, so too does the evolution of civilization occur in the learning and progress of that.
Totally.
So it's very interesting, and I wonder how much learning and progress gets wiped out when there are great wars, meteor strikes, massive cataclysms,
Totally.
things like that. It's like, like the Library of Alexandria.
Yeah.
I'm like, what was in that library?
Makes you wonder. I
Oh,
wish we
shit.
knew.
Atlantis.
I've been. What were you gonna say?
I was going to say, I'm not really sure how that would work because no matter what, history is written by the victors. So what? Where am I going with this?
I think that's a pretty cynical way to look at it, because it does look at
Is he
it.
wrong though?
Well, let me explain my
Go
thing,
ahead.
and we'll see. The reason I say cynical is because I would have thought that too, but I've heard Elon Musk and Peterson talk both about this. But Elon Musk says most of humanity was just farming. It wasn't like people just like you just live your daily. Most of life is lived just working and doing your thing, and like sometimes wars happen and sometimes political huge events happen, but most of it is people just trying to survive, because life, it's fucking hard. It's easier now than it's ever been. It was way harder back then, and even at that, we still have cancers and all these things on this earth that are, everyone's affected by it. So, with that being said, I don't view it so much that, throughout history, the tyrannical leader always... Jordan Peterson talked about this. Here we go again. He says, if tyranny was... Okay, no, it was about child abuse. He said if child abuse was the way that everyone raised their kids, or was like the common theme, and he lays it out much simpler than I can, but basically after a few generations, everyone in the world would have been a victim of or done child abuse themselves. But it isn't that way, and most people aren't abused their children or didn't come from it. And so it's the same thing with tyranny. If tyranny was what always won, we would all be tyrannical leaders. All of us, and our dads, us, everyone, our cultures, everything. It isn't that way, though. Why are we living in a continent that in its constitution was all about the individual's rights and freedom? So to me, I view it as that's what actually wins out over and over. So you could say, well, then where do you, like, the victor isn't always this tyrannical leader that kills everyone. I don't think that works, and it kills itself off. So,
And just to be
does that
clear,
make sense?
what he said was history is written by the victors, right?
Yeah.
Doesn't mean they're tyrannical necessarily.
True.
They observe tyrannical behavior, immoral behavior, we'll say, and something that is decreasing humanity, then they overthrow them. They are now the victor, and they write the next history.
Okay.
That's how we get all this, like history books that are changed tremendously, even from 20 years ago. It's like, what actually happened with a lot of this shit? And so that's why the internet's been so beneficial, because you can go and research for yourself. You don't really know something is the truth until you have either, done your research or, we'll say, experienced it.
Gotcha. Yeah, I guess my question to that is, like, what does he mean by that then?
That history is written by the victors.
Yeah.
So say you're a victor in a battle, or you've taken a country, whatever. Are you going to put in your history books that you slaughtered thousands or millions of this people's countrymen? Or are you going to put that they rose up against you, and so you went and defeated them? So really history is written by the historians, right?
Yeah.
Historians are going to paint the victors, their leaders, tyrannical or not, in a better light than what actually happened. It makes their head less likely to go on the chopping block, we'll say.
Gotcha.
So it's just interesting that way. You're not going to get the whole truth from a secondary source.
I agree with that.
And so I love the idea of the evolution of the idea of God, the evolution of religions across the world, all that stuff, and that virtues often won out over everything else and continue to do so even if it's a struggle. However, it's interesting to think about how many people's hands have touched those writings, those teachings, whatever, whether they added a positive flair or their own perception into those things. You know, we'll say the best example being the Bible, because it's just been passed down so many years and translated by so many kings in their own, we'll say their own, on their own agenda.
Right, yeah, who knows if they put something in there that makes them look more favorable.
Right.
Or, yeah.
Right. Or more like a god.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Or, yeah, if they do something bad and they're like, well, actually it says
Well,
it's a
God
good
killed
thing.
thousands of people. Why can't I? You know,
Right.
there's certain things like that. It makes it hard to take for truth many writings unless you are able to find the source or have an experience where you find the source. Something. It's very interesting.
Which is why I have a problem with like the Book of Mormon and the Bible, because it's written by so many different people that just like written by the victors or whatever history is written by the victors, it's manipulated to make it sound extra good for whoever whoever the top is, like Christ, for example.
And that's humanity. Humanity does things that benefit themselves. It's not. I mean, we're a selfish people. Even if you are the most selfless person ever, why are you being selfless? Oh, it's so you can get kudos in the afterlife, right? So ultimately, it is selfish.
Maybe.
There's a virtue in selfishness, and Ayn Rand writes about it. It's a fucking great book.
It's a way good book.
The virtue of selfishness.
I agree with that, but what about the whole spiel that Peterson puts out that people take better care of their dogs than they do themselves?
Right. They may not be selfish in that one way. So why are they taking better care of their dog than themselves?
Because they love their dog more than they love themselves.
Right. They selfishly value their dog more than themselves. Doesn't mean they're doing it for their own body, but in their brain they're getting more benefit out of taking care of their dog better. Right?
I get that logic. It makes a lot of sense. It's just I'm not saying it's not true, because it is true, and I think that life is really hard for a lot of people, and they're still self-interested, and I think that throughout history, most people tried to do good. It seems that way.
I didn't say selfishness wasn't good.
Yeah. No, I have no argument to that.
Okay.
I have no argument to
but
go
but
with
that's
that.
another
You're,
book
like,
you can read if you
Trying
like.
to come up.
I want to. Yeah, I will.
She talks a lot more about the physical world rather than the spiritual world, which is great because she was a self-proclaimed atheist, even though allegedly she wasn't an atheist. But it basically outlines how those who are the most selfish, those who take care of themselves in the purest form of selfishness, right? Where you're looking out for number one, and you are creating these things in the world. You're creating a business. You're creating your coin business, whatever, because you want to.
Yeah.
You want to benefit the world, and that is the virtue in selfishness.
Yeah.
And you should be thoroughly rewarded for that.
Yeah.
That was kind of her thing there, and it was fucking fantastic.
Yeah, I believe that fully.
Yeah.
No argument against that.
So it's pretty fun, and we already mentioned what truth is according to Jordan Peterson.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And can you say that one more time? Kind of what he said about it.
He was saying that truth is whatever has lasted throughout evolution,
Okay.
which makes some sense.
It does make sense. Yes.
Mhm.
Very interesting.
Hell yeah.
So I heard a podcast with Neil deGrasse Tyson, and he said there's 3 types of truths. It was objective truth, meaning it's true across time and space, right? You have personal truth,
Mm-hmm.
which is it's true to you. You believe in God, that's true to you. Someone else doesn't believe in God, it's true to them, whatever. And then there's truth that's true because it is, we'll say, believed by so many.
Mm-hmm.
And so Christianity believes in a God. There is a true God, according to Christianity. That is not the level of the individual. That's the whole religion. Like, yes, there is a God.
Yeah.
Or, say, all of atheism. So very, very interesting that there would be three separate types of truth in his mind, when one would think there would only be one type of truth,
Yeah.
that which holds up across time.
Yeah.
That's what I would
Right.
say truth would be. What's the truth? Like, the realest thing. There may be a God, there may not be. None of us really know.
Yeah.
Yeah, there was
But one's probably true.
Yeah.
Yeah.
one of us is right.
Yep.
or it's all the same God.
Mm-hmm.
What do you mean by that?
Yeah, here we go. So across many religions, they believe there is a creator,
Yeah.
right? Might be Allah, might be God, Jod, whatever you believe.
Yeah.
Doesn't matter. But
God.
John.
yeah, something. But they all worship a higher virtue, a
Yeah.
higher being. It's all the same shit.
It seems to me to be that way. I could easily get on board with that.
The most interesting version I've heard of it is that this is talking about our spirituality as compared to God, how we're not necessarily lower level beings, but a different progression. So in some of the Eastern philosophies, they think of each of our individual souls as a slice of God
Yeah.
who comes down. He's like, okay, I get to experience all things, and therefore I will do it through humanity, and experiences all things through humanity. It's a very intriguing one, and Alan Watts mentions this. He says, all right, if you were an all-knowing and all-powerful creator, what happens? Eventually, you get bored. What do you do if you get bored? Oh, maybe you want a surprise. How do you get surprised? Well, maybe saying you come down on this earth and don't remember anything from your last life, and just so happens that we're doing a podcast now.
Yeah.
That's one experience. So he thinks very interesting, but
yeah.
I always thought that was kind of a cool thought.
That is a cool thought. That is very cool.
It's interesting.
Yeah, if you were an all-knowing and all-powerful God, where would you eventually end up? Right where you are.
Just you're saying that he would consciously put himself in a human body to
Correct.
forget what he
Make
knew so that
himself
he
forget.
can re-experience it again.
Right, because
You'd get bored.
it would get boring.
It
Yeah.
would get boring.
Yeah.
It would get boring.
That's a very big concern. That if you made it all the way to the top, there's nowhere to go. That's pretty boring.
Yeah. And so what would you do? You'd go,
Back to the bottom.
it's like, make me forget everything for X amount of years, and I'm going to go experience this
See
and
if
this
you can
and
make it
this.
to the top again.
Yeah.
I mean, think
It's a
about
good
it too.
point.
If everything on this planet was perfect and like utopia, right? It'd be boring as shit.
Yeah.
You have to have a balance, chaos and order, or else there would be no fucking point.
Well,
to
what do
live.
they say? If the world was full of, perfect and it was just sex and good food all the time, the first things humans would do would tear it down.
Yep.
Yeah. Yep.
Wouldn't work.
Cut themselves, kill themselves, whatever.
Uh-huh.
The saying goes, anything to feel.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's pretty crazy.
Here's some food for thought for you.
It's a lot of thought. A lot of food.
A lot of food. We're all full here.
Another interesting thing that I heard about at one point, a theory we'll say, is that we are not necessarily in and of God at all. What happened was that God found our consciousness and created bodies for us. Showed us a path.
That's an interesting one.
It's very
I kind of like
interesting.
that.
And I heard that from one of the most religious men I know. Fucking interesting.
That is very interesting. The thing is, we don't know. So
No.
it could be anything. It's fun to think like that. We have no idea. We really
Yeah.
don't know. We can guess.
And therefore, it
don't
doesn't
know.
matter.
Well, I'm
In this
I get what
human
you're saying.
existence,
Yeah.
does it really matter what's on the other side?
it doesn't in that sense.
And so that gives you a very deep understanding of, and almost a compassion for an atheist or a nihilist.
Yeah.
It's like, fuck, if there's nothing after, why do I give a care?
Yeah. Well,
Intriguing.
I always thought, I was told my whole life, like, how the fuck could you be an atheist? Like, what the hell is wrong with, like, they don't
Right.
believe in anything. They're just walking dead bodies. Like,
Yeah.
what the shit are they even doing here? Get out of here, you know?
Right.
Just get it over with. But the thing is, I felt like I became an atheist for a while there.
Yeah.
And I was like, holy fuck. This is it. This is it. I still am not, I don't know if when I close my eyes, I still am like, I hope like hell when I die there's more.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm not 100% on that. I'm not like some people that just know it. I don't know that at all. I'm pretty convinced, I'd probably say I'm more convinced that it could be when you die, it just goes black and that's it. But you're not in the black. It's just, that's it. It's over.
Done.
Because there's so many things in my life that aren't heroic and all these things. It's just life. Like, life is like that a lot. People say this. This is a stupid example, but I almost feel like God does this on purpose, but then that's kind of counterintuitive to what I'm saying. But it's like, if someone's like, I know I'm having a boy, and it's a girl, it's like, they always have a fucking girl. You know what I mean?
Yep.
Or they're like, I know I'm having this. Like, they always have the opposite. That's just how life goes, it seems like. Whatever you wanted the most or hope, it usually doesn't happen that
It's
way.
not quite in your control.
It's not in your control. Life does what the fuck it's going to do, and we're here. So, good luck. So, if the lights turn off at the end and that's it, that was it. And I never thought that was so uninspiring. I could easily see how someone could take that and get even farther than someone who believed in God in this life, because this is it. Whereas with a Christianic belief or an afterlife belief, you can do the best you can, in quotes. Dude, it's like I read that book Night by Elie Wiesel. They're in Auschwitz. They're fucking starved to death. They're literally starving to death. They weigh no weight, and then they put them on the train or whatever. Then they get off the train, and they had to run them to the other camp, and it was 20 or something miles in the snow with no shoes, no. But the options were, die, like fall down and get shot or freeze to death, or keep running. And people did things that are just fucking unbelievable when those were the two options. And so what I'm saying is, when there's always that crutch of religion, there's an afterlife. We don't know how that affects us consciously. You don't know how much that slows you down. If there wasn't that at all and our whole culture was raised on, this is fucking it, dude. There's nothing else after this. Go. That's fucking all you have. Mm-hmm. We don't know what that would do if we thought, and everyone thought that like that, and everyone you met was like, "What? You got like 40 years left. You're about to fucking die. Get going, bro." It just makes you wonder if we would be more productive. Probably not, because people would just lose focus. But I don't
People
know.
are people.
Yeah.
But imagine if you could have that drive and that passion for life while maintaining those other beliefs.
Totally.
It's like, fuck yeah, afterlife or not, I'm going to do everything in my power to benefit myself and humanity in this life.
Totally.
That seems to be the optimal strategy, right?
Seems like, and it seems to be that way because that's the way that it is. It seems to me that if the other way was a better strategy, we would have got to that point by now, you know?
And then my best thing to say to atheists that I've come up with is, we create robotics, right? We create AI. We've created all this crazy shit. We've not been able to create a being like unto ourselves as of yet.
Yeah.
There's cloning. We don't create the consciousness. We don't know where it comes from. Just fucking appears.
Yeah.
But we have not been able to create a being equal to ourselves.
Yeah.
What created us? Be a being greater than ourselves, right?
You'd think you'd have to be.
That would follow the logical pattern.
Yep.
But that's been my thought.
My only argument to that is, like, we just barely started creating robots. I just saw a thing in my recommended the other day that was like, this robot says it has consciousness and people are starting to believe it, which it's like, I don't know. But
Yeah, I saw that.
I'm just saying, we're in like play this out 10, 20, 30,000 years of creating robots. I'm convinced they'll find a robot and give it consciousness as far as we can figure it out.
Oh, absolutely.
But I fucking hate it. It doesn't turn me on or make me happy. I'd like to hope that No matter what they did, they just can't get these damn robots to have it, you know? Because then it would mean something you'd think, but I think
So-
life is life, and they'll figure it out.
Yep.
In creating these robots with consciousness, allegedly, two things. Would you not think that we would also increase our own consciousness along with it, or even above it? You've got the Brainlink thing that Elon's working on,
We need it.
shit like that, and then what was my second point? It was the better one too. It's all right.
I've done that a million times.
Yeah, I'll figure it out later.
Well, I agree with you, and that's why.
Oh, there it is.
Okay,
Sorry.
what is it?
So, God, no fucking way, it just left again. You're kidding me. It's coming.
hell
It's coming. Okay, here you go. We're attempting to be like unto God, right? Most of the world is attempting to be like unto a creator, something higher. In us creating AI and robots and artificial intelligence, which may attain consciousness,
Yeah.
are we not taking the steps to becoming gods of creation?
Physically, yes.
Right.
Yeah,
or less.
in the physical form.
So,
Yeah.
just food for thought.
That's good stuff.
So I don't think that it's necessarily bad. But go ahead.
I was going to say back to the point of if, as a society, we are taught you just die, and that's the end. I feel like that would be 100% less productive because then people have nothing to work towards. Where with religion, then people are like, eventually I want to meet God, so I'm going to continue to be the best form of myself and keep prospering. Where, yeah, if it was just dead, then people would. I would only imagine that there would be mass suicide.
There'd
Yeah.
be a lot of nihilists.
You
Yeah.
want to be in
A
a
lot.
constant state of bliss all the time.
I agree with you. I don't think it would work well. But it's fun to kind of go to that side a little bit as being raised in a spiritual background, because
Absolutely.
it kind of is like, whoa, wait, hold up. This ain't how I thought it would be over there. There's still an enormous amount of meaning, you know,
Mm-hmm.
or
There's a
there
book.
can be.
There's a book on that called Brave New World.
Uh,
Have you heard of like 1984 or Animal Farm?
yeah, I've heard of 1984.
So it's similar to that, where it's a dystopian society, but they swung the other way, where everyone all the time is blissed out,
Gotcha.
and it's fucking incredible. It's super interesting.
I'll have to read that.
Dude,
That sounds really good.
Got a lot
It's a
of.
good one.
I'll book you up.
I know. I got my other book in the notes that I'm about to get into after the one I'm in right now. I'm reading to the Naked Communist, or
It's a pretty good one.
is it?
Yeah.
I'm into that one right now.
It wasn't my favorite, but it was pretty good. Yeah.
Gotcha. That's kind of where I'm at so far. I'm only like 30 minutes in. It's like, it's not pulling me in like I can't wait to read it, but
Yeah.
it's pretty good.
Yeah.
I started reading the Meditations of Marcus Aurelius.
Oh, I've
That
heard
one's-
of those.
It's pretty good so
Are
far.
crazy.
I like it.
If you really want a good book on communism, read the Gulag Archipelago.
That one's on my
Fucking
list
crazy.
too. I know. Why didn't I read that? Because I actually
It's
really want
long.
to read that.
It's very long.
I know. I saw that. Really long.
Have you read The Creature from Jekyll Island?
I haven't, and you
That's
guys
a
said
good
that
one.
last time.
Good.
That one's all about the Federal Reserve, not necessarily communism, but
Yeah.
Anthem's
Still
a
very
good one on
interesting.
communism as well.
Anthem.
Anthem.
By Ayn Rand.
Ayn Rand
That's shorter one. It's good.
and Atlas Shrugged that talks about it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I need to
fucking
do that one
crazy.
too.
She is a unit when it comes to books.
Yeah.
She's mommy.
She's very good.
Yeah.
Who is she?
Ayn Rand
Okay.
is her name. She died. Well, I don't know when she died actually. I think it was in the 90s sometime, but her like writing heyday was in the 60s, I believe,
Gotcha.
and it was pretty damn incredible. Right after the big industrial revolution, leading into the new era, you know, when we had all the like FDR shit, all the policies coming out that were more social policies. Super interesting.
Gotcha.
Very good job of predicting what's going on currently.
Yeah.
I think
Like a
Atlas
very good
Shrugged
job.
is probably the best book I've ever
It's
read.
one of my that one is my favorite book right now. So
Okay, I got another question for you guys that I think I haven't figured this one out yet, and it's pretty important.
okay.
Do you think the greats throughout history were more so a product of them being born with their DNA and the way their brain works and things, or putting their life into like almost perfect order. The reason I say that is because people like Elon Musk, he has Asperger's or whatever, right? And so his brain just thinks this way, and he almost can't help it, it looks like to me. And
Yeah.
then J.K. Rowling says that when she was, I've heard this, that when she was writing Harry Potter, that story was already in here. It was like, it would play itself out, it sounded like, and she finally got it onto paper, but it was always there. It just makes the reason I bring that up is because in my family we have Cameron. He's special needs.
Yeah.
He's different. There's different people, just completely that, and maybe it's 1 out of 1,000, maybe 1 out of 1,000,000, maybe 1 out of 1,000,000,000. But do you think it's more? I always growing up thought it was just no. They just grinded and worked and they did all the right things, which I'm not taking that from them. But it makes me wonder now. The older I get, I'm like, holy fuck! Can some of these people almost not help themselves bring forth what they had to? You know what I mean?
Yes, and the greats are only great because humanity remembered them,
Yeah,
right? And the light they remembered them in.
for sure.
Okay, Hitler is one of the greats that humanity remembers, but it's not a great light.
Yeah,
You know, Attila the Hun, same thing, but they were great because humanity remembered them. If there was no humanity, they would not necessarily be any greater than you or I.
but do you really believe that?
Absolutely. And each one of us has that seed, that ability to be a great. There are so many people who will say are better and worse than the people that are the greats. But humanity remembers those people for a specific reason, whether it be a lesson for humanity or a religion or whatever. I believe each of us has that seed in us.
So will you just like put the question in very simple form?
So I'll try. Do you think that?
Like they're born that way.
Yeah, it's more like the super successful people. It's more a product of just who they were when they were born, or what they do in this life.
Yeah, what they do in this life, 100%.
Yep.
Because a lot of people can be born with the greatest ideas, but then they don't do anything with it, and so they're forgotten, just like what he said. It's the light that they're remembered in.
Okay.
Absolutely.
Let me explain. I guess I mean a little bit more than that, which maybe this answers itself. But we're going to remember Usain Bolt 100 years from now, as long as no one breaks that record. We're not going to remember Tyson Gay 100 years from now. Look at Usain Bolt, his genetics, everything like that. It almost makes you question if Tyson Gay really doesn't have a chance, because even if they both push the same hard, Usain Bolt's genetics and everything just take him to that next level. So I guess what I'm trying to say is, does the successful people have, I guess, the perfect sauce of all of it? I'm not trying to take away from the individual, because I'm just a huge advocate for, like, you can do whatever you put your mind to.
Yes.
But it's just like, is it real, though? Is it almost just like, can you really? Or if you are going against Elon Musk, are you just going to lose over and over just because the DNA, you get what I'm
Well,
saying?
he's got
I
30 years on you, first of
Well,
all.
that, but
I
you
thi-
get
I-
what I'm saying with Usain Bolt and the other guy.
I think people are born with certain advantages. Some people are, because life's not fair. You know, not
Yeah.
everybody's.
White privilege.
You're not going to be like a basketball star.
Yeah.
No matter how hard you try, you're just not going to be ever.
Gotcha.
But like I think, yeah, some people are born with special advantages for sure.
So I guess that's a good way to put it. So maybe what we should be searching out is what is closest to our natural good talent, and then we can. That makes
Use what you got. you
yeah.
know?
Right, because yeah, like for your example, Elon Musk, he could have been an accountant
Yeah.
and still had all these crazy thoughts and done nothing with it, and
For
still
sure.
innovate the whole world and just be in a notebook.
Yeah.
And so it would definitely have to be that you're willing to go out there and do it.
Gotcha.
But then are you saying if there's special needs or something, for example, they like physically cannot stop themselves from getting those thoughts out and innovating? Like it'll hurt them.
If they don't,
Kind
if they
kind
don't.
of.
Is that what you're saying?
Kind of, or I guess in the sense, now that I'm playing it out with you guys, this is fun to have the conversation. It's like, well, maybe the most successful people, because we talked last week about the chaos and order and the highest virtue, but maybe it's also there's that like hint of they went closest down the path of what was naturally good to them, and then you get what I mean?
Yeah. Like followed their purpose kind of almost.
Yeah.
Like they found their path.
Yeah, they found their intuition and then followed that all the way through.
I've got another book for you. Sorry.
What's that?
It's called The Alchemist by Paulo Coelho.
I've heard about that one.
Such a good book.
It's the only one I've read probably 10 times.
Really?
Yeah.
Is it? I guess it says something about that, or what?
Yes. It's very much like the idea of it is that each person has a personal legend, and if you follow that, you follow your intuition, you follow the signs, the omens, then you
Gotcha.
will achieve the greatness that you were meant to on this earth, right?
Oh man, that's tough.
Dude, I read it about every 3 months or so. It's fucking good.
Yeah, that. I know what you're saying. I have a few books like that.
Yeah.
What do you feel about
Follow the
Government.
omens.
like valuable or no or not?
Government?
Government.
I'm not educated enough, first off, to like get into that
So-
much.
So not politically. I'm just saying for holding peace, for example. Or how do I put it? Basically, without government, do you feel like America, for example, would fall into chaos, or would that be more beneficial for the people?
I think it would be much more beneficial.
Why?
I tend to believe that if you have the right system set up, and then it's set up on the highest virtues, and then you let people play it out with freedom, it's the best case scenario. The reason I believe that is just what happened with America versus the other countries. So it seems to be that way, where there was less government in the beginning and we were more successful as more governments got involved, and over time, and where we're at right now, I don't think anyone's like, I'm so fucking happy where we're at right now with the politicians. I don't hear anybody I know saying that.
So a government could be good in so long as they hold true to the tenets in which they were created.
Exactly.
Like if we were to stay with almost exactly the same government that we had at the start,
It would have been
it-
great.
having its only purpose be to protect your human rights and from both, what do they call it, domestic and foreign threats. That's its
Exactly.
only purpose.
Yeah.
Do you think there could be a government that wouldn't get corrupted?
Unfortunately, I don't believe that there could. Maybe I'm wrong. I'd love to see it. I just,
Yeah.
at this point in my life, I'm like, I think it's just the way life plays out, and I think it has to happen like that. Like the brain, the negative to know the good, it just has to keep happening.
Then
Absolute power
follow-
corrupts.
Yeah. Follow-up question: why do people crave power
Why do they crave it? I don't know.
for with government, for example? But just in general, why is there always somebody that has the desire to be the quote-unquote alpha?
It's control.
I think so as well.
I can't figure that one out on the real note, because a lot of things, when I hear like, oh, this dude did this to this person, oh, this dude did that to this person, I'm like, I can just search inside for like 1 second and be like, okay, fuck, I get that, why they did that. With like just wanting power over everything and like all the money, and it could just be a product of how I was raised, everything. So I'm grateful for that, but I don't, that one trips me up, because it's like, why? They know it doesn't work. It doesn't work over and over. Why would they want that? I don't know. I'd never really met a person like that in my life, I feel like, that just wants that, but apparently they're out there.
I think it could be also misery loves company. If you hate your life, you can make it worse for everyone else.
Yeah, that's for sure.
Could
I
be
think-
also that power in this world, or being the alpha in this world, is the best way to protect you and your family, your tribe, from everything else.
Okay, I
I-
could go down that path, search in and go, okay, if I was born into a really rich family and my dad knew things, and so we had security guards on the family and everything, and I grew up into that family, so now it just happenstance I was part of that family to keep me from being murdered by the other people, like the lords and things like that back in the day with kingdoms and stuff. Maybe that's the game that's going on. So it's actually they're just like you're saying, it's just defense of themselves. So the power, searching for the power, is actually just that makes sense now. Last week when you guys were saying that, I couldn't wrap my head around it. Now it just clicked for me.
Well, and like we were saying, even beyond that, as soon as you feel that you are in a place of power and protected, obviously you're going to keep striving to be the most powerful for the most protection, right? And the most benefit to you and your family. But also you start getting those philanthropic thoughts to benefit humanity, but it's seen through your perception. That's where you start getting corruption. That's where you start getting the Tuskegee experiment. That's where you start getting Hitler. That's, all that stuff
Yeah.
is very, very intertwined with selfishness without proper morality.
I think so.
So, very interesting.
You know what's funny though, real quick?
Go ahead.
I think we were talking about this last week, but why would anyone just go evil and school shooters and kill all these people?
Of course.
Jordan Peterson has talked a lot about that, and it's that usually people get to this point, whether they're bullied or whatever, they get to this point that they have no more faith in humanity and they just want to kill it, and it's like a revenge to humanity and revenge on God himself and whatever. He says that a lot. It's super crazy he says that, because I was watching a documentary the other day about this girl and her brother, and they were in a foster home, and this mom and this dad were looking to foster children, to adopt kids for years, and they finally got a call from this foster home and like, we have these 2 kids. There's nothing wrong with them. This is they're brothers and sisters. This is perfect for you. They come down, they adopt the kids, bring them home. Come to find out, the daughter, she's like 6 years old. She's crazy. And they end up having to lock her in the bed at night, in her room at night, because they're afraid she'll come hurt the little brother who was like 7 months old, or hurt them. And so this is all going on, and it finally gets out of hand. So they bring the girl to a psychiatrist that specialized in abused children. Mm-hmm. And it's on video. You can watch the interview. The psychiatrist is interviewing her, and he says, what do you want to do to your little brother? Or he says, do you ever stab people with pins and things? And she says, yeah. And she's like, who do you want to stab? And she's like, I want to stab my little brother. And he's like, why? And she's like, I want to kill him. And he's like, is there anyone else you want to stab? And she's like, yeah, I want to stab my mom and dad. Why? Because I want to kill them. And he says,
They ask why again.
Yeah, he says, why do you want to kill them? And she says, because I was hurt so bad, I don't want anyone else to feel that. She fucking said that.
Yep.
A 6-year-old kid, and she was abused. And it was so crazy to see that right then to come to fruition. And I'm just on a little tangent here, but I was just like, holy fuck. Like, it's that what I was talking about. Humans can deal with hazards and hurricanes and stuff, but like malevolence from other humans and just evil that's inflicted upon them, it just breaks down their whole moral structure, and they just go into a crazy
If
zone.
they choose to, yes.
Yeah. Well, when they're that young, it's like, do they even have a choice? Maybe they do. I don't know. But
They're God-given the freedom of choice, right?
yeah.
Freedom of consciousness and like, we'll say decision-making, not necessarily, but the freedom of choice you were given as a spirit being.
Yeah. I'd want to believe
Theoretically.
that, but at how much, like as a 3-month-old, I guess what I'm like, if you took a 3-month-old and just gave him heroin every single day, and then by 2 years old and be like, you have the freedom, don't be addicted. It's like, what the fuck? We just did everything to him that just forced them on addiction. So I guess my argument was like, well, if you abused them so badly, like that's the outcome of that. I don't know if they even have freedom of choice at that. Do that? I don't know. That's an interesting point.
Because their mind's just so fucked up at that point.
Yeah, like they didn't get a chance.
If they don't, then Christianity's wrong in that aspect.
Yeah.
But I would believe that they do have the freedom of choice, but there's going to be a lot of shit behind that choice.
Yeah. I know the interview, I didn't get to the end, but it said, and where she's at now. And I didn't get to the end. I'll have to watch the end and see if she came out of it or what happened.
Yeah, they believe they're doing an ultimate good. Like the Columbine kids killed themselves, killed a ton of kids, and they're like, okay, we're taking them out of this world because it's too cruel.
Yeah.
And we're doing them a service.
Yep. Don't want anyone to feel the pain.
Right.
But the irony of it is that they're inflicting pain while they're doing it, but it's just...
But they view it as a small pain compared to what they might experience in life, right?
Yeah.
So that would be going into complete chaos.
What would be?
Her doing that? Or the little 6-year-old?
Yeah.
Straight chaos spiral.
Oh, her going into the pure evil of killing them and all that?
Yeah, but is that evil?
No! We're not doing this
I
again.
think so.
Is it evil since from 0 to 6 years old, let's say, she's been literally manipulated in a way into believing that this is the greater good?
Yeah.
Take out my family members to save them. Is that evil?
I still think it's evil, and I don't think she's at fault. They talk
Okay.
about that in the scriptures. I think you can some of your sins can come are on your father or something like that. I remember hearing that somewhere, that like your father can be accountable for some of your sins, something like that. Was in the biblical series. I can't remember,
It's a
but
Catholic idea of original sin.
is
Where you
it?
get baptized at birth.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, they baptize them right after birth, and then they baptize them again when they're a little bit older and like conscious, we'll say.
Gotcha.
Cleanse
Yeah.
the sin of your father, and then your sins.
Yeah, and I would go to, which like not a good answer, but it's like I'm not the judge of that, so maybe God does that. It's a tough one because we say evil is this, and then you could have just an entire generation of families doing that to their kids and keep corrupting them, and then they go become Adolf Hitler or something, and you're like, this evil goes straight to hell, and then you learn their history as a child for generation to generation, and it was like that, and you're just,
Like, shit, did they go to hell?
yeah,
Yeah.
it makes you wonder. You're like, I hope that girl doesn't go to hell, you know?
Well, why would she?
You'd hope that she wouldn't. She would because she killed someone, but you'd hope that that works out a little differently. I don't know.
So think of it as a father to your kids, right? What could your kids do that you would eternally banish them and never see or speak to them again? Could they do anything to make you do that?
Cut me off when I'm talking.
Fucking get out of my house!
You're gone. No, I'm just teasing. No, you wouldn't think that there's anything, but I also hope to have good kids, and I'm also not so naive that there's people that just straight up hate their kids, and I don't think that that's the kid's fault. It could be theirs too, but maybe there's that line as I get older, if I feel like I've done the best job that I could and gave them the best I could, and they just turn again, and unconsciously turned against and went and just murdered and just raped people and stuff. Maybe. I don't know. I'm not that naive to be like, hey, maybe I would be like, get the fuck out of here. You're no longer welcome. You know what I mean?
Of course. Would you ever stop loving them or not forgive them if they came back?
You'd think you'd always forgive. It seems it would be hard
I mean,
not
you're
to.
the only one with kids born right now.
Yeah.
So this is a question for you.
I love my kids all the way, so I would hope that I open the door back. I can't see that I wouldn't. But, I mean, that my mind goes to, well, it could be like a meth addict where they come back so many times to finally, after 20 times of coming back,
Right.
I don't care anymore. Go.
Right.
So that's like, damn, that's a real thing.
But would you stop loving them, and would you not forgive them?
I'd still love them. Forgiveness. Oh, it's tough.
You just love them over there.
Well, I'm just playing it out for real. Like,
Yeah,
you
for
want
real.
the best for your kids, so it's no bullshit. So it's not a fairy tale world. So they do that, and they come back 1,000 times,
Of course.
and then they go again. I would still love them. And what was the other question? Would I forgive them?
Would you forgive them?
I'd hope I would. That's tough.
Yeah, but that all depends on what forgiveness looks like for you, right?
Yeah.
Forgiveness can be, hey, they chose that in their life. I still love them to death, and they get to not be in my space because of their choices,
Yeah.
right?
For sure. Yeah, you're right. I definitely ain't going to be holding a grudge or anything.
Right.
It would be an acknowledgement of that's the path they chose. And so if that's forgiveness, then yeah. Like, you'd always just forgive them and just acknowledge that's what they've done.
Mm-hmm. Makes the idea of heaven and hell as concerned with God very intriguing.
Yeah.
If we'll say if heaven, if God, if the celestials are a reflection of humanity, as we were created in His image, allegedly, right?
Yeah.
So
What are you getting at? What
chomp,
do you say?
chomp. So heaven and hell, even if there is a hell, I don't believe that one. First of all, I don't know that it's an actual place or more of a mindset or like a soul feeling.
Yeah.
And then second of all, I don't think it's eternal.
Seems like it would be pretty ridiculous to be eternal.
Because there would be learning and growing involved, and eventually you'd figure it out.
But then on the flip side, by that logic, you could go to heaven, be in the celestial, and go to hell.
Right?
You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
If you can come out of hell, you should be able to go into hell.
Correct. Do you think that's wrong?
No, I don't. Well, seems like it makes sense. If I get to the next life and it's dull, I'm going to fucking kill myself. I'm teasing, but I'm serious. It's like, if I get to the next life, I'm like, okay, you're working for God. This is what you're doing today. This is what you're doing tomorrow. This is what you're doing the next day. You didn't make it to the celestial kingdom, bud. Sit down. Making worlds, that ain't on your, which I don't think it's that way, but I actually really like this life. I like the way that it's set up. I really do. So if I get to the next life and it's like this, I think I'll be pretty happy. If I get to the next life and it's not like this, and it's too perfect or too bad, then I won't really like it. If I had to live this life out for all eternity, it seems like a long time.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe I'd hate it, probably would, but there's a lot to do. I could do it for a long time. It don't bug me too bad.
So each of us creates our own heaven and hell. Why wouldn't it be an absolute reflection of the other side?
Oh, wait, what do you mean by that?
So each of us creates our own heaven and hell on earth here while we're here.
Okay.
Why would not that be the exact reflection on the other side?
Why wouldn't it be
As-
just like that
As
there?
your spirit moves on, yeah. It might look different, but you're still going to be able to create your own heaven, your own hell, your own being, we'll say, and how you choose to be, because freedom of choice was on earth and in heaven, right?
Yeah, paramount.
Correct. Above all.
Yeah.
And so I wouldn't be surprised if you die and you wake up in a very similar situation. You're like, oh, shit.
Yeah.
Going to Jimmy's podcast today, you know?
Yeah.
But with the knowing.
That guy's
with-
a Satan.
Yeah.
With
the knowing of, say, if you believe in past lives, or the knowing of all of your previous spirit knowledge, right?
yeah.
So it might be incredible.
So what do you guys think about, like, Buddhism and stuff like that? And as far as I can understand, it's like you reincarnate so many times until you transcend, like, being, and then you can decide if you want to come back or not or something.
I like the idea. I like the idea of Journey of Souls better. The book that I recommended you last time.
Okay.
In that the idea is that we die, we go up, we're cleansed or whatever, we get all of our previous knowledge back, and we're all knowing as far as our spiritual lifetimes has gone, right? We have
Okay.
all that knowledge. And we choose when and if we come back down, either on Earth or another Earth or whatever, to therefore take on another physical form, have the limitations of a physical being, and to, once again, start that learning process and learn something new in the next life.
That'd be interesting.
I don't know that you're necessarily reincarnated as a fly,
Yeah.
because a fly wouldn't have the spiritual consciousness of us.
Yeah.
You might be reincarnated as another being, another human, another alien, whatever you want to call it.
Gotcha. Hey, real quick, I got something to say. So, reincarnation makes a lot of sense.
Okay.
In the sense that you feel connected to everything. I do. You sit
Yeah.
down and you're just like trees, and you just feel at one with it. It is almost like Avatar the Blue People when he
Yeah.
puts his hair, and you like download all this. Okay. What if I had this thought that was like fucking awesome to me not that long ago, where I was thinking more in evolutionary terms because of the biblical series thing, talking, and I was like, holy fuck, I am a product of genealogy that has never, ever, not one fucking time died before they had the kid that had the kid that had the kid that had. I've been a part of the winning strand. How many few there are? There's can't be many, like all the way back in time. It actually has been way cool for me because it's a weird way to think about it, but it's like I have no idea who I am living through and who they were. I could have came from these. So whenever I think to myself, oh, I'm not that way, oh, I'm this way, I'm that, I'm like, inside of me, one of my great grandfathers or whatever could have been like the leader of this or Jesus himself. You just don't know. We have no idea who that comes through. And Jordan Peterson talks about that, and he says that when we're born, through evolution of all these thousands, millions of years of humans figuring stuff out, that is kind of, it's in us. And so we're actually born knowing everything, but we have to like unlock it. And that's how it feels. When you learn something new, it like resonates with your soul. It's not like a cognitive, intellectual, like add that to the list. It's like it unlocks it from your soul, and you're like, holy shit, I knew that. Now it's brought to my cognitive thing from inside. So with reincarnation, do you think that people believe we reincarnate because we feel that, but it's actually just a product of the evolution of life that's in us? Do you get where I'm going with that?
No. Have you ever had dreams though of like, say, a past life?
I haven't. And if I have, I didn't think like that, so I wasn't like, oh shit, that was that.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
I don't know. That's interesting.
Because it's like, you'd think that the person, I'm like, fuck, dude, is deja vu like past lives and things, which I was never one to be past life guy. But that makes scientific sense to me, that how could that memory not be it is transmitted. Their memory is transmitted into you through all the DNA and everything. It's like, why can't cognitive memory and...
I personally think deja vu is dreams. You've
Okay.
had dreams and then, I don't know, like of the future kind of.
I have
And
an
then-
interesting thing on deja vu, but go ahead.
I don't know. That's how I see it. Because like whenever I get deja vu, you're like, I've been here
Yeah.
in this exact moment. And then you almost know what's going to happen next.
Yeah.
It's really weird. I think it's dreams.
And we all experience it.
Super
Everyone
fucking
knows.
wild.
That's weird shit.
Is it a dream or is it a spirit walk? Hear me out.
I think
Okay.
we've talked
Hear
about
me
this
out.
I never
before.
heard this.
So, when you get deja vu, you're like, I have been here before. I know it in every fiber of my being. It's like, okay, I've seen this before.
Yeah.
Fast, or we'll say rewind a couple of weeks, couple months, whatever. You have that dream. What's happening while you sleep? Your conscious mind is put at rest, and your subconscious is allowed to do whatever it does, right? Your spirit is also allowed to do whatever it does. What travels faster, we'll say a baseball or a baseball-sized beam of light?
A beam of light.
Right. Why? Because it's finer particles. It's photons and shit like that. What is your spirit made out of? Oh, it's very fine particles, allegedly, right? And they've been working on finding the God particle, the spirit particle, for a long time.
Yeah.
Rumors are that they're very close, or they found it, but it's not public, we'll say.
Yeah.
So as your spirit travels, even if it's in the same physical space, it's going to travel much faster than your physical being. And so when deja vu happens, that is simply your physical form catching up to where your spirit had traveled to when you were sleeping.
What the fuck?
You're welcome.
Hell no.
That's interesting.
Well,
That's
okay,
my theory on deja vu.
that is interesting. And something to add to that, Sadhguru, his whole book is on, he was sitting on Charmody Hill, and he had that experience where he was sitting there, and he, like, his spirit left his body basically, and he experienced everything as himself. So that happened. And then listening to Jordan Peterson, he said that there's this neuroscientist, I can't remember if I told you guys this, she had a seizure, and since she was a neuroscientist, she was able to, like, be kind of conscious through it. And what happened was it shut down the one side of her brain that was like orders everything, and it was all her right side of her brain, I think, which is like the creative side. It like turned that on just full bore, and she experienced through that. She lost the sense of self and experienced everything as herself. I'm like, I want that so fucking bad, dude. That seems like the
Have you
most.
taken mushrooms?
No, I haven't. Is that what it is?
Do
I
it.
heard it does
Do it.
very similar things to that.
I want to do that. I really do. I want to try it and see, but
It's wild.
I'm not like necessarily nervous. I just,
You should be.
yeah, that scares me. But I don't want to have a bad trip. I'm nervous of that. But I'm more like, I feel like when I do it, I need to like feel like I need to do it, if that makes any sense,
Oh,
instead of
absolutely.
just like doing it to like experience it. And I'm just not there yet where I'm like, okay, it's time, if that makes any sense.
Absolutely. Yeah, you definitely got to be in the right mind state, and then it can't be on a whim. It
Yeah.
definitely can't be on a whim. Not if you want everything out of it,
Yeah.
the most
If
value.
you want a good trip with good value.
Yeah. Be around people you trust.
So, as equally as it can be good, can it be hell?
Oh,
Can you
yeah.
go to hell?
Absolutely.
Huh?
Logan might have some insight.
I want to hear that big time.
So, you want to hear the trip?
Yeah, I'd love to hear all of it.
Okay.
And
Like,
by
I
the
can't
way,
remember
after
all
his
of it.
trip, his spirituality opened up tenfold. Easy.
Gotcha.
Fucking crazy.
Yeah. So, basically, long story short, I was in the middle of the fucking desert, in a pitch black tent.
In real life or in the?
No, in real life.
Setting
Okay.
up the scene.
Okay, all right. I
So
was
in
like,
the
are we in
middle-
the trip part or in
This
real
is
life?
what not to do.
Yeah.
Literally in the middle of the fucking desert,
Okay.
dry as hell, in a pitch black tent,
Windy.
windy as fuck, with a bunch of people. Number one, I didn't know. Number two, I didn't like their energy.
Okay.
And number three, I was just uncomfortable as fuck.
Yeah.
So I woke up, brushed my teeth, walk out of the tent, and they're like, "Hey, we're taking shrooms. You want some?" I'm like, "Fuck yeah, I do."
Uh-huh.
So
Had you done it before?
No.
Okay.
So I eat the shrooms, I smoke weed, and I'm drinking alcohol.
Oh no.
So
Shrooms don't go with anything.
No.
Okay, that's good to know.
Well, you can smoke weed on it, but anyway. keep going.
yeah, so I
Veteran.
I was sitting outside, and then I'm like, "This is kind of weird. I'm seeing a chariot in the middle, just fucking, with a horse and a chariot, literally going across the desert."
Now let me ask: can you not tell if it looks as real as anything you've ever seen, or
No,
can you
it's-
kind of tell it's a little?
No, it was a fucking chariot with a horse.
Okay.
Going through the forest, or not the forest, the desert.
Okay.
And so I was like, that is super cool. And the mountain started like pulsating like a heartbeat. Thump, thump, thump. And I was like, okay, I'm getting overwhelmed as fuck. So I go to my tent when it's pitch black and windy as fuck. And I'm just laying there. And the tent starts to cave in on me. So I'm like, I'm dead. Right here, I'm fucking dead. And so I get up after I'm panicking because I could feel my tongue starting to swell up.
So
I'm
it's
like,
feeling like you couldn't breathe right or something.
yeah, I couldn't breathe.
Oh no.
And I'm in and out of consciousness. Like, you fall into a fucking void, and then
Okay.
you'll come to consciousness, and it's just in and out, in and out. That was my experience.
I've smoked weed before, and I kind of have that where I'll like
Yeah.
just drift off, and then I come back, and I'm like, whoa, what the hell? But
Mhm.
okay, so I know that. Is it like that, or just like times 10?
Times a million.
Oh really? Okay.
Yeah. And so I run out of the tent, and I see Tanner over here, and he's fucking tripping too.
Yeah.
And I'm like, dude, I can't fucking breathe. I'm gonna die. Like, help me.
Yeah.
So he's like, okay, let's go back to the tent, and he's all calm and shit. And I was just like, you got to get me to the hospital, like, now.
Yeah.
I can't fucking breathe. And then, so I go back in the tent, and then I'm like, okay, I'm going to vomit. So I go out, throw up all over my feet,
Yeah.
go back in the tent again. It's caving in on me. So the walls, everything is just sucking me into a void again.
Oh.
And then I'm like, holy fuck, I have this hoodie on me still. Which, when I pulled it off, it was like peeling off a literal layer of my skin.
Uh-huh.
And so that was super fucking weird. And then, oh, at one point I was looking outside, and I literally seen all of my chakras, like my entire being, fucking. He was sitting there, and then he dropped through the earth, gone.
Uh-huh.
And so I was like, okay, once again I'm dead. And then, you know, some sober people, they came back because they were all gone, and they came back, and I was just like, help me, get me to the fucking hospital. I couldn't get that out of my mind because I couldn't breathe. So I'm dumping water over me while I'm laying in my cot. It was like an exorcism because I'm tripping.
Uh-huh.
I'm like, I'm freaking the fuck out. And so all that happened, and then I ended up calming down a little bit. Like, this was coming towards the end of the trip. And then bugs started crawling through my fucking face.
Oh no.
And so I'm scratching on my face, and I'm just like fucking tweaking, dude. And what else happened? There was something major that happened that I'm not recalling right now.
Biggest one you mentioned was the auras thing.
Yeah.
How you
Yeah.
watch your chakras come out,
Yeah,
then they literally dropped into the void.
yeah, but
It's
there's
fucking crazy.
something else.
Got
Either
stuck
way.
in the tent. I remember you
Chariot.
saying that you got stuck in the tent. You couldn't get out.
Yeah, I couldn't get out. But either way, I was tripping dick. There was some dude playing with a fucking machete over in the corner. He's tripping. Some other dude
In
with
real
a-
life?
Yeah, some other dude with a fucking pistol. So I'm like, he's gonna kill us all.
Oh
And
no.
in my mind, I'm like, I want to be the one killing instead, so that he doesn't have to do it. So I'm like, fucking going in and out. And yeah, it's just not fun.
Yeah.
And then I ended it all with drinking some more.
So have you done it again since?
Fuck no.
Okay.
But now you got to hear some good experiences.
Yeah.
Okay, but before that, I do want to ask this: like, do you think it means anything? Like after this long reflecting back on it, is there?
Oh, absolutely.
What does it mean?
Tell them about the after effects.
Yeah, so I've always been like super in tune with the spiritual side,
Yeah.
like see stuff, feel stuff, whatever.
Okay.
And after the trip, there was a being that kept on popping up in my room, and it was like this dark, tall ass motherfucker. And he would always show up, and then I got sleep paralysis times like a million.
Oh, hell.
Because I would experience it sometimes. And then it got to the point where I had something hold my hand. I've had him shake my bed. I've had it call my name and all this shit. And I can't do anything because I'm just like laying there. And so basically it just opens up the door to the spiritual side
Yeah.
to the nth degree.
Okay.
So if you're open to that and not fearful of it, then it's an incredible experience, and I would recommend it for anybody.
Yeah.
Like, what a beautiful experience, and to see literally my body go outside of my body and then drop through the earth is like an entire paradigm shift.
Yeah.
So it's fun. They're cool.
Yeah.
They're cool as shit, but also just do it in the right setting so you don't die.
So, man, I don't want to like go on too long about that if it's going to take up too much time. But with you, the question was like, is there good and evil? You were asking that a lot, but does that not, in some sense, like make you think that there is evil? Because there's
No, I
like
know
this
that there's
black.
not. And I'll tell you why. Because you're watching the news. There's good news, bad news, and then there's breaking news. Why can't it all be meshed together and just be news? Why does it have to be good or bad?
That's just marketing.
Yeah, but then we take it to the spiritual realm, say, where I was fearful of that for so long, and then I embrace it, and I'm like, okay, of course you're welcome into my space, because you're not harming me.
Yeah.
You're not doing anything bad. You're just being, and now I'm conscious of that.
I guess my question is, I've done weed, and people are like, weed's nothing, weed's nothing. But for me, it was like, that fucking did a lot for me. Like,
Sure.
it does a lot. So there's always bad trips and there's always good trips. And people can have both, and people can have both the bad and a good, and some people have more bad, some people have more good, whatever. I don't know what any of that means, but like, I don't know. Why can you have a bad trip? What is down there? And we know when it's bad, and you're like closer. When I've smoked weed before, it's like sometimes I feel like I was becoming evil. It was like this feeling in me. It was like, it's been a long time since I did it, but I have had that where you're like getting closer to the evil. That's what it feels like to me. I could be way wrong
like
on
a
that.
darker energy.
Yeah, but like to me, maybe it's the way it probably is the way I'm reinforcing my beliefs. But it's like there's like sometimes you feel like you're just laughing and it won, and then other times you're like, feels like some evil shit's going on right now.
I
like,
think it's all perception.
Really?
It is.
Like bad trips. I love bad trips.
Yeah.
Like he was saying, when shit like that happens, I don't necessarily enjoy them, but I think there's something to be gained out of it, something to be learned. You know,
something to be learned is different than there being an evil. And a good, not to go down that path again, but it just does make me wonder. Like when you have a bad trip, it seems like you're getting closer to like, why is that there? Why is that even there?
Or
Why is that something you can experience? That there's like this dark energy. There's this something that's there. What even is that?
Because this is the way that I actually had this realization the other day. Instead of fighting the bad, the quote unquote bad, the side of me that wants to do, like go out and harm people, let's say, or go to war, whatever. I embrace that and say, absolutely, that is a part of me. It doesn't have to be bad. It's just a part of me, and how beautiful. And then I go to the other side of the pendulum where it's good, and I'm a giver, and I love everybody. So I embrace that, and then coming together, I'm just being.
it's balance.
I think that's what they call integrating your shadow self or whatever, which I think that's fucking awesome that that's integrating the shadow. I think that's what that is. It's like not making it mean all this and not fearing from it, being like, yep, that's a part of me. Yep, that's a part of me. My question was more like, but why does that even exist? But that's getting back into it all. But it was just curious. It just had me curious because you saw this dark man. Like you didn't. What I would imagine when you saw him, you weren't like, that's God. You're probably like, what the fuck is that thing?
It was like me literally leaving my room and going to sleep on the couch.
What do you mean by that?
Like
That's what he did.
like I would leave my fucking room.
Oh,
and
if
then
you
I'd
saw
go and
that?
sleep up on the couch. It was the time where my hand was grabbed, and I was like, okay, no more of this bullshit.
Yeah.
But now, if it was to happen to me, I'm not inviting that into my space. I'm just saying, if it was to happen to me again, then I'd be like,
But why aren't you
However-
inviting it into your space?
because I don't want it.
Why don't you want it?
Because it's uncomfortable. Because I don't fully understand what it is.
Yeah.
But
I
that
guess-
doesn't make it bad. That just means that it's on such a high vibration that I don't know what it is.
But But it doesn't seem like that when you talk about it. Well, just I'm not
So-
trying to infer. I'm
so-
just saying
so
like
back-
you
back then
you
when I was
don't want it
tripping
to
on
be around you. You don't want to invite it in your space. You'll recognize it's in your space, but you don't want it around you. You know when you saw it, it didn't seem like it represented light and good. In fact, it was black and tall, which they say tall is power. Like that means so it was more powerful than you. It was black.
Well, it's definitely not more powerful than me. Absolutely not.
I'm not saying that it was. It's just the way you described it. Like when people describe things like man that's bigger than them, it's more powerful in like a descriptive,
Okay.
subconscious like vision.
So I get what you're saying, and when I was tripping on shrooms and going through that whole experience and after the fact, I was having a hard time deciphering what was real and what wasn't
Gotcha.
for like the longest time. So anything that would come into my space that was unwelcome or uninvited, I would absolutely perceive it as bad. But now it's just like, okay, wonderful. We are living hand in hand with the other side. It's now that I'm so open to it, I do see stuff. I do see energies and what whatsoever. But even if it's an energy that's just a lower vibration, doesn't mean it's bad. That means that's perfect for that being and whatever that being is attached to, whoever it's attached to.
Gotcha.
That doesn't make them a bad person. Or the lightest of the light. It doesn't make them a good person. It just means that they're on a higher vibration, spiritually. So this is a conversation completely out of this world.
Yeah, well, I'm following you. I'm really
Yeah.
following you this time. It makes a lot of sense. And then I get your argument probably even more last week that you kept bringing up, like now the spirit and the personal side, because it's like, well, maybe because man is wired the way that we are, we have hierarchies and stuff and like good and evil, but in the spiritual realm, that all exists outside of man and everything. And so there is just these frequency beings and
Yeah.
all of them play their part. I get that more than ever. And
And we're trained to believe, okay, if it's not a being of light, like literally in white robes, then it's bad.
yeah.
Like, what the fuck kind of sense does that make?
Well, I guess my only question with that is either man is wired in the flesh and wired man, so we see it wrong and it's actually existing outside, or God created us in his image and we see it that way for all these years because it exists, it's real as fuck, and there is evil and good. And if that makes any sense, maybe I'm wrong, but
It's just scary because we don't get what it is. As a whole worldly situation, we don't get what the other side is because who the fuck knows, and who there's like probably 1% of the population that's able to see that and is open to it, while the other 99% is like fearful of what, a cabinet closing by itself. Oh no, that's a bad spirit. Like, it's just playing its little playful side on the heavenly side, let's say, while we're here just doing what we do.
I don't know why I have the hardest time, like, just
Because you're not open to it. You're closed off to the idea.
Wait.
That's why. It doesn't
could-
make you wrong in any way.
no, it could be that, and like, it definitely could be that, but it doesn't feel like that. But then when I talk, it doesn't seem like it feels that way for you. But I do feel like when I hear things, it's like, whoa, that was like revealing this like truth and whatnot. But that doesn't feel like that. It feels like something missing there. I'm not saying I'm right at all. I'm not. It's just like, what am I missing? It doesn't make sense. But
Why isn't it clicking? Right?
yeah, it's just like, not even that I'm like, oh, I need that to click, because I don't know if I need it too, but it is interesting.
It's just a different vibration. I bet you Kama, your brother,
Yeah.
is always having conversations with people on the other side.
I wouldn't be surprised.
I bet you if you brought it up with him, he'd be like, oh, my friend fucking Jimmy
Yeah.
that hangs out with him all the time. And that's just because he's in a different realm of living, let's say.
But why then does this type of belief not work for society?
Because what a better thing, what a it's such a good problem to have because you can never have the answer to it.
Huh? Wait, what? I've heard you talk about that because Noah was talking about that last week.
Yeah,
That was about
and-
something a little different, but yes.
But I guess
Okay, so ask the question again.
okay. So
Please.
why doesn't that way? And this isn't a fact. It's not a fact. It's just it seems like that way of thinking that there isn't good and evil and there just is and being is being. Why doesn't that seem to work for society? Why does society have to believe it's good and evil?
Because they can't see it.
Human beings are on a different vibration, right? We'll say a different frequency, like you were saying. We're a much lower frequency than the spirit being, or the other side. And then when we die, we give up this body and increase our frequency and go wherever we go. So different frequencies are going to have different
Interpretations.
interpretations and we'll say laws to achieve similar goals. Our goal here, life, liberty, the pursuit of happiness. The ultimate good is life and progress. The ultimate good on the other side is going to be life and progress as well, I believe. But the rules are going to be a lot different on the spirit side versus humanity side.
Basically,
Does
it's
that make any
just,
sense or no?
I'm following you.
What am I saying? And this is how I come back to the signing the contracts on the other side. For someone was to take and torture and tie up my kids.
Uh-huh.
Like, I chose that experience. But is that hard to imagine that, yeah, why would I allow that to happen?
The problem with that belief is you have to believe in something that's a belief. And I think that,
Faith?
well, with the way that I was explaining the whole God thing, it's like humans found these virtues and then they put them at the top because it's what we were experiencing. But even me, I'm very fucking skeptical of Mormonism, all this stuff, because what I was always told was there was a war in heaven,
Yeah.
right?
That's what I was told.
I know, but there was a war in heaven. The good people chose God. The bad people chose the devil. They never even got a body, and the people in the middle, they're black. You know what I mean? Like, that's what we were taught. White people chose God. Black people sat on the fence, and the evil spirits stayed in it.
Yeah.
And I was always like, what the fuck kind of a belief is that? And you have to believe something that you don't experience yourself to change your perspective. So according to that, you have to believe that you signed a contract for that to happen to you that I don't experience, and I would probably argue most people don't experience. I'm not saying it isn't true.
That's exactly why, because I am, however foo-foo fucking crazy it sounds, I am able to have conversations. I am able to see spirits and ghosts and demons, whatever you want to call them,
Okay.
where perhaps you're not able to. So it's just different experiences that we've had. So in the middle, then there's that roadblock because I am not sure how to communicate to you 100% of my experiences, and then you're like, well, that shit doesn't even make sense because I've never experienced that in the first hand. So how's that real?
Yeah.
So it's just experience based.
No, I get that makes sense. Yeah. So the good shrooms.
Good shrooms.
The
Yes.
good trips.
So I've done mushrooms probably over 30 times.
Okay.
Yeah.
It's a lot.
Yeah, it's a lot.
Still no DMT.
Not yet. I'm searching for it.
Okay.
I almost did it once, but it didn't feel right. It wasn't the right time.
Gotcha.
So, yeah, that's the next step. I'm an astronaut. I'd say, I don't know, I did it recently, and it's just the most amazing thing. If you have a good trip, if you're around good people, with the right music, the right light, I don't know. I was convinced while I was on it that was the closest to heaven that you could get to on this
Gotcha.
planet. You know, it's just calm, peaceful. You have crazy, wild thoughts and ideas, and you just love everyone. You just want to love. It's weird, but yeah, I've also had a lot of bad experiences. I was telling them the other day I got locked in my car and started like freaking the fuck out. This was a while ago. This was
While you were shrooming in real life, or this was experience?
yeah, no.
Oh,
So I did
shit.
mushrooms on my way home. This was like a year ago, and I got locked in my car and couldn't get out.
Oh,
Just started
shit.
like crying and freaking the fuck out, and then I realized I just opened the door and
Yeah.
walked out. And my car can't even lock.
Yeah.
So I got locked in a car that can't lock. And I'm flipping my shit, dude.
Isn't that profound?
It was really weird.
Profound.
Why?
Think about it for yourself. You got locked in a car that was not locked.
Yeah.
Interesting.
But I don't know. It's just I've seen a lot of shit. Acid, I don't fuck with that. Last time I did that.
Have you ever done it?
Yeah.
What's that all about?
I'd say it's kind of similar to booms, but the best way I can explain it is like,
Artificial.
yeah.
Oh,
like,
really?
Yeah. So like when you're doing acid, it feels like the city. When you're doing mushrooms, it feels like the mountains.
That's so
And
funny.
nature.
Isn't acid made by man?
Yeah.
And
Well,
shrooms are plucked from.
yeah. It's just hard to get real LSD because I've been sold fake LSD and I started throwing up blood and it was real bad.
Oh shit.
Yeah. And I tripped the fuck out. Like the hair on my arms started to turn into spiders.
Oh hell no.
Yeah, it was a fuck no. It was a fuck no experience. It was not
Oh
good.
no.
thank
It was
you.
wild. And my hair like started turning into worms. It was just like, I don't like this, fuck that. But boomies, when it's a real bad thing, I'd say you go to hell. You go to your own personal hell, but you figure out a lot of shit about yourself.
Gotcha.
You know, everybody's like, oh yeah, you get shot up into space. My experience is you get shot up into yourself.
Yeah.
So it's like going deep into
That'll
yourself.
burn off your dead wood real quick.
Yeah,
Oh, yeah.
yeah. And
I'm about that shit. That's
It's being confronted with the worst parts of yourself
Mhm.
on the bad trips,
Yeah.
and just being like, yeah, that's my mirror,
Yeah.
yeah, literally.
and so it's fucking terrifying.
And you can't run from it.
What a
You
beautiful
can't get
experience,
fucking
yeah.
away from it.
yeah, no, there's no fighting it,
Yeah.
because once you're in it, and once you start going down that path, that fucking stairway, it's like sledding down Grandpa's Hill. You ain't stopping.
Yeah.
So that's where I would go to find that part inside myself that searches for power.
If
Or you know how I was saying,
Oh,
like,
yeah.
I don't get it, but I do that, and it'd probably be the first thing that presents itself.
Yeah. If you want to know yourself, do boomies.
That's how I thought weed was for me, dude. It unlocked my conscious mind. I learned so much about myself, and it helped me a lot.
Yeah.
A ton.
Have you only done it once?
No.
No.
I wasn't like a pothead, but we were smoking like 3-4 times a week when we were doing it. We were doing it a lot.
I don't even like it anymore. It's not fun.
Really?
I hate it.
I
don't
still
like
like
being
it.
high. I don't know. It doesn't do it for me. It just makes me feel paranoid and shit. I'm just like, somebody's watching me. I don't
Yeah,
like
I've
this.
been paranoid before. That sucks.
But I don't know.
Pretty
It-
damn
it's-
fun stuff.
Yeah,
boys.
interesting shit. But I'm convinced people were supposed to eat mushrooms. That thought just popped in my head last time I did them. I was just sitting on my couch, and I was like, "This is fucking great." People were supposed to eat these, definitely.
Well, isn't there the whole argument that evolutionary, we were like apes and found shrooms, and it
Opened us
opened the conscious mind, and then
And
we had
the argument,
evolved.
that's where religion comes from, everything.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But then, yeah, and then you're like, wait, what the fuck does that even mean? You know,
Yeah.
it's coming from this shroom.
Hold up, could we feed a mushroom to an ape right now and it'd do the same shit then?
Well, it wouldn't turn it into a human, but
No, but would it?
Would it like
It would
open its conscience?
unlock
Yeah,
I
would it
guarantee
make it more
they had
alive?
to have tried that. You'd
Oh,
think
yeah,
they'd have
definitely.
That's what I figure.
to. Yeah,
I just figure you'd hear about it if it did something crazy.
yeah, you'd think you would.
well, shrooms have been outlawed for quite a while.
Yeah, but they still test that
They
shit.
still grow in the wild though.
Oh yeah,
You'd
they
think
do.
they probably do find them and eat them and get.
Animals trip all the time on different substances.
I've heard
Yeah.
that flies will eat some flower or some shit and just
Oh,
be
yeah.
fucking
Blitzed
balls,
out.
dude.
Yeah.
Dolphins will do it.
Uh,
Yeah, dolphins will toss around pufferfish because it gets them high as fuck.
really?
Yeah,
Because when they poke it or something.
Uh-huh.
they-
Mhm.
Oh man.
they'll get in like circles past everybody.
Oh my gosh.
All of nature gets high and expands their consciousness
That's crazy.
in whatever manner they can.
Hey,
Drugs are bad.
do you guys
okay?
think Avatar 2, the new one, the blue people coming out, is going to be the greatest film ever fucking made in this
Dude,
world?
Yeah.
The
When's it
first
coming
one
out?
was real fucking
December.
good.
I didn't even know
If
that was a
it-
thing.
Oh, it is.
If it's anything short of legendary, it's going to be a disappointment, which
Oh, yeah.
sucks.
Were you guys fans of the first one?
Oh,
Fuck
yeah.
No.
No?
No.
Dude,
What?
there's
I didn't
always-
give a shit about it.
Yeah, like I feel like it's the one thing, and everyone says there's a few things like, but Avatar, it's like you're either fucking loved it or didn't like it, and I loved it.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Just thought it was
pretty
dumb.
cool.
If it would have been just strictly the blue people versus the humans, that would have been sick.
Yeah.
I didn't like the part where they would like connect and then become a blue dude. I didn't like that part. But
Oh,
the
I
movie
see.
as a whole
Like
was
upload their
fucking
consciousness?
incredible.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But this next one, well, now that he's not, now he doesn't have to do that anymore because they took his body at the end and put
Yeah.
it to the tree of life and transferred his soul in there.
Yeah.
Dude, and underwater shit. I'm just saying. I think I'm gonna go out on a whim. I think it'll be the greatest movie ever made. We'll see. I really do. I think it will.
Well, they had 10
love-
years to do it.
I love
Yeah.
the idea of like connecting
Or maybe more.
with their tail or their hair,
Yeah.
connecting with like the animals and all. It's I don't know.
It
It's super
seems
cool.
Connects
right.
directly
Yeah,
to their
that's how it is.
consciousness.
This makes
Yeah.
sense.
It's so cool.
Yeah.
With Mother Earth and all that it knows.
Yeah.
Yeah, pretty dang cool.
We're all
So we have a podcast about the shrooms that we talked about.
Okay.
And that was like recently after I did the trip.
Okay.
So there's way more detail in that than just the skimping over.
It's one of
Okay.
the ones with Jakey.
Yeah.
It's like the
Oh,
red book or
okay.
something.
I think I listened
Yeah.
to some of that one.
Yeah, it's like I want to say 35 minutes ish
Okay.
where we start talking about the shrooms. But
And it's like a 3-hour long podcast, isn't it? Or 2.5 hours? It's
Yeah,
a long
it's
one.
fucking long.
Gotcha.
like this one.
Yeah, exactly. Like our last two have been.
Yeah.
Yeah. Any more universal questions you guys
I
want to
was
solve?
gonna say this has been interesting talking about
Yeah.
the meaning of life and
Yeah.
then avatar people and mushrooms and jumping all over the place today.
It's fantastic. So what we wanted to end, we learned a little bit more about yourself at the very beginning, which is what we were kind of missing last time. So
Yeah.
we appreciate it.
Yeah, for sure.
Thank you.
And once again, we'll ask you any parting advice for the listeners. You didn't say anything last time. That's okay.
Oh yeah, I didn't say anything. I have a plug.
Okay.
Go for it.
Of course.
It has nothing to do with me. It's actually just something that's pretty cool. There's an app on the phone called Yuka, Yuka, and Torrin and Jube just barely showed us it the other day. But you can scan in barcodes of all the foods, and it instantly tells you a rating on a 0 to 100, how healthy it is or non-healthy.
What?
And it has the additives that are all in it, and it rates the additives on a scale of hazardous to non-hazardous, red, orange, yellow, and green. You can
Whoa.
click on the additives, and it'll tell you the scientific background of the additives and what they do and what they cause, if they're cancer-causing and whatnot. And that's just something I think that people need to have because we just barely got it, and I was like scanning everything in my house, and Pop-Tarts are like a 0 out of 100. They're just fucking awful, right?
Oh, but they're so good.
But
They're so
everyone
good.
knew that, right? But
Right.
the thing where it's fun is finding the things that are just fucking horrible for you that you didn't know were that bad.
Yeah.
Like Hidden Valley Ranch. I eat that with so much shit.
Oh.
It's 0 out of 100. It's as bad as a fucking Pop-Tart for you. It has so many additives and cancer-causing shit, so I'm going to stop buying it. But that's the only thing that I could think will, like, maybe give someone value is to get that, start scanning their shit, and get their diet cleaned up, you know?
No, what's crazy is I was sending videos about a very similar thing about this to these boys today. About
really?
BPA.
plastic. Yeah, about all the plastic that's in your food.
Yeah,
Like, I was watching that all day today.
yeah.
And I actually even have it in my notes, apps that do that.
Gotcha. Well, it's funny you said, not to go too far, but I just barely heard from Juby, and I didn't see the study myself, but that they found plastic in the placenta for the first time ever. So it's like it's actually in the placenta where the baby is made, just
Yeah.
because we're eating so many foods with plastic that it's like it's getting
Right.
pretty bad where you can't get away from it. It's like inside the placenta. Anyway.
Microplastics.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
that was one of the things about BPA that I was reading or watching today is that so BPA is in everything.
Okay.
Like if you touch a receipt, the thermal paper, how they make it thermal paper is they coat it with BPA,
Okay.
and it'll absorb into your blood in 2 hours if you touch it, and that'll transfer through the womb into your kid, and they're endocrine blockers, so they'll stop you from producing hormones, and also what they do is, so it's an artificial estrogen. That's what BPA is. That's what it was first made as, but then they started putting it in plastic. But it's an endocrine inhibitor, so it'll hook onto your testosterone receptors, so your body can't accept testosterone anymore. And they'll also hook onto enzymes that your body creates that'll actively convert all your testosterone into estrogen. So you'll have this one compound that's in everything. Like if you eat in plastic Tupperwares, you'll get hell of a ton of it in
Holy
it.
fuck.
And what it does is it actively increases the amount of this this super estrogen, because it's fake estrogen and your body can't get rid of it. And it actively increases how much estrogen in your body, and how you process testosterone. So you can't it fucks your testosterone bad.
Gotcha.
Oh, now I'm all stressed out. Thank you.
I was watching shit about it all day today because I was like, what the fuck? How come I didn't hear about
It's
this?
good to know because I use a thermal printer for my work, and I
Yeah.
just put them all on the labels, and I'm always touching them. So now I'll put some gloves on and do it. Maybe some plastic gloves.
Yeah, but it's like, so plastic containers, so you heat up Tupperwares and shit.
Yeah.
The BPA dissolves into fat and acidic food. So when you heat it up, you get 300 to 500 times as much BPA in your food because it heats up the plastic and it just absorbs everything.
In a microwave?
A microwave, just heating up plastic in general. So even if you leave like your water bottle, a water bottle in the sun and come back and drink from it,
Yeah.
full of that shit, and they think it's a leading cause for why men's testosterone has dropped like 50% over the last 20 years.
I saw
Holy
that.
shit.
Because,
It's fucked.
yeah.
We're all fucked.
That's why someone needs to get into nutrition.
Yeah, for real.
Hell yeah.
Well, guys, check out that Yucca app. Check out BPA, microplastics, all that jazz. And thanks, Mo, again for coming on.
Thanks for having me.
Appreciate you coming
Thank
on
you.
1 week after.
Yeah, that was
Making
fun.
time in our schedule.
Yep.
But yeah, thank you guys for listening, and we'll see y'all next week with another guest, hopefully.
See ya.
Yeah.
Peace out.